Sorry about that. I don't think I was on stage here. It's time for the Operation Mandela Effect outreach again. Um, I'm going to try not to get too angry. I don't want to be guilty of not upholding God's sanctity. Everybody needs a chance to reevaluate what they're thinking, you know. Um, and this ain't about getting people just to turn away. Hey, I don't like you, so I'm gonna tell you get on. There ain't no hope for you. And that's what we see a lot in these Hebrew Israelite camps, and not just them, but it's everywhere. Um, their denomination. eh, But look at the fruit. I want you to look at the fruit of all of it. Has it turned into what we needed? It certainly didn't. It didn't hold up in the modern age. It's You can say, well, John, they did things to sabotage the modern man, and they did, but that's a part of their fruit as well. So, yeah, there's a whole lot of things that we could do that's um, would have been better, and the people running this world, um, basically David, Canaan's um, uh, rulers of this world, they share rulership, even though technically it was Israel's rulership given to the Canaanites. So it's, at this point, it's just they're just at the mercy of their Canaanite friends. But what we see a lot here lately is as the world has gotten so-called more conservative all of a sudden, out of the blue, we've had all this, new right push where um, we're big into the Bible all of a sudden. You got a bunch of 20 somethings that the Timothys are unleashed and they're angry and they want something done. And they think they've got all the answers and they haven't even been here, any time at all. So in 10 years they'll be 30 and they'll be cutthroat as all get out. Then by the time they're 40, they're going to soften up. They're going to backpedal most of that shit that they pushed during their 20s and 30s. So it's just like a cycle of of and then the next group will come, and they'll have a big bunch of little, basically childlike fixes for the whole situation. And it's because a man really ain't shit till he's 40. Guys, let's get real. You're in your 20s is the same as 15. Ain't no different. That guy's 15 years old all the way till he's 30. And then when he hits 30, he's going to think he knows everything. He's going to think he's invincible for a little while. He'll be ready to cut anybody's head off that if he can figure out how it profits him. And then life will catch up with him. And that'll be all out the window. And, you're just supposed to forget that part. And then he'll be mad at the 20 somethings and the 30 somethings that don't get it. It's just a never ending cycle of what happens when you let boys have too much say. And it's not going to get any better in David's kingdom because you see that's a kingdom about boys, simply boys. It's about being like worshiping the beauty of boys, uh, bowing down to ruddy complexions like David, and so what it all ends up with is the poor girls before they know it, they're surrounded by 40, 50, 60 somethings. They're still 15, you know what I mean? And they're thinking, and there's no one there for them. So the poor girls, what we're finding is, yeah, they liked my little kingdom of David. You know what I mean? Read his Psalms, read the Proverbs, get off in Galatians, David, David, David. Um, yeah, they liked that because it served its purpose. But what happens is it rots, it stagnates, it gets arrested in its development, and before you know it, she's sick of the poor boys more than she could fathom, and she don't know what to do. She hasn't figured it out what the root of the problem is. Let's get into this video a little bit. Uh, excuse me. There you go. Let's see. Okay.
People, let's forget, move forward, and start building our own things. Peace.
All praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash.
Now, you can see, very first thing this guy did is he decided, let's make her look silly. Let's do some unflattering poses. Let's get off into, how worthless this girl is. This is what's going to happen, ladies. If you can hear this broadcast one of these, this is going to happen over and over. When the boys have charge of everything, they're Romeo'd in, and we're all in prison. So this is what you're going to have. You're going to have these kind left over there to persecute you, single you out.
Double honor to the apostles and elders of GMS. Shalom to the hopefully elect. This video is going to be a response to females. Stay away from Hebrew Israelite men. All right? Females, stay away from Hebrew Israelite men. And look, the title in itself, I'm not going to get into all the male-female stuff. It's not a social video we worried about what women think. Because to be honest, we don't give a shit. We would prefer you to stay out our face and stay away from us because we don't care what happens to you. That's for any man and women, men and women. But particularly talking to you females, don't nobody give a damn about none of you. We don't care what you think. Our purpose is to preach the gospel for the elect's sake. And it's mainly, really what we preach is really dealing with men, with the brothers. Women gonna come along, sure. Women gonna be of the elect number. We know that. But it's really not that important for Israelite brothers to be all that concerned with trying to preach to women because women can't really get the full truth anyway. The message that we preach is salvation for the Israelites, sure. And that does include women and children, but they're going to be saved because why? Women going to be saved in childbearing, children that's chosen to be saved, going to be saved simply because the Most High chose them. Not because it's extra important for them to hear the message and to believe what we're saying and all that. It doesn't matter. The end is going to come whether no women believe at all. It doesn't really matter. The message is for the men because the men have to go out there and teach and preach. So we don't give a fuck about what women think. We're not here for women. We don't care nothing about, especially black women. We don't care nothing about what you got to say. But anyway, just wanted to say that. Now, dealing with the video, and I don't care who get turned off by it now, it seems like the thing that IUIC is mainly used for by the Heavenly Father is to, number one, right, make some awareness of the Hebrew Israelites, although they don't have the 100% truth, but also, two, to make the truth look negative. I mean, because of them and what they mainly doing, that handing out flyers, going up to women, saying dumb things, and only preaching part of the message and getting the other part wrong and pushing the law more than anything else.
Okay, so you heard that. Um, this is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And what he's getting on to a rival group of Hebrew Israelites, the IUIC, the Israelites United in Christ. He's getting on to them because they keep teaching the women about the law being the laws of Moses. Imagine a group of people. That's the whole reason that Israel would be in exile according to the laws of Moses in the first place. No one would be able to stand against them, except that if you break the law, ignore the covenant, then yeah, everywhere you would go, you would flee from, just a few people. And I mean, a whole bunch of terrible things. But this guy's telling you that the black women that he doesn't like, they're going to be saved through childbearing, reincarnation. They're going to come back basically as their children. And they're just entitled to a high old time. Sure, they're lawless and stuff, but they're Israelites. So they've suffered enough. They'll just get reincarnated in the kingdom. And of course, the Edomites, they're going to be reincarnated as, God only knows what they'll be. It's his kind. What you heard there is he's mad at the Israelites United in Christ for bringing up the law too much because the GMS, they're not big on the law. They're big on knowing how to pronounce the name or knowing who Babylon is or, understanding prophecy. And that's what they do. Everybody else that doesn't understand that, they're not going to be the elect. They're the losers that brought Israel down in the first place. That thinking right there. It ain't about the law. It's about prophecy. It's about order of Melchizedek. It's about supplanting a new covenant. It's this, that, and the other, but it ain't about that old law. And here we got a lawless one that has got the poor girls. I mean, you name it. They can't do no right no more. Just stay away. And this is light. You ought to hear what GMS says, other times. I mean, it's rough. And they want the women of the other nations. They don't want none of the girls that they made. You know what I mean? That they produced, and because they're more like Canaanite girls that you don't have nothing to do with them. I mean, they're just sabotage. But even if this girl is a Canaanite, whose fault is that? Is it Esau's fault? This girl's a Canaanite that he don't want nowhere near him? Whose fault is that? Is it Canaan's fault? Like the book of Joshua says, they were just determined to live in that area. There wasn't nothing God could do. You know what I mean? When the Canaanites are determined, they're determined. It don't have nothing to do with they spared Rahab and all the Hivites. And that's why they couldn't stand up to their enemies. It don't have nothing to do with that. It's just that they're determined. Whose fault is it if he can't stand the black girls that he made? Him and his people, all the Jakes. They're just throwing them away. It's insane. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be all our fault. God's not going to turn to the women. He's not going to say, hey, what did you do? It's not going to work like that. It's going to be, what did we let her do at the end of the day? What did we teach her? It would be okay. I mean, how did you raise her? It's all going to be on us. It's going to be on her husband and her daddy. That's who. He's going to be wondering what went on here. That's who's going to get the blame. not the poor girls. I mean, imagine. I mean, these. I couldn't imagine being around this level of stupid people, and everybody's bigger than you. You know, they laugh at you if they think they're smarter. I mean, it's just like absolute hell. Um, but here we have the true men of the elect. They don't, there's there's no sympathy unless they've got to take you in, like Rahab, for the sake of David. And I mean, are you ever going to hear them come down on Rahab? No, because she's in the book of Hebrews. Are you ever going to hear them come down on Bathsheba because she's a Canaanite too? No, because that's David's girl. They get a pass. You know, they'll run after Jezebel and Ahab. But compared to Solomon and his wives, Ahab was a saint. And so was Jezebel. I mean, my goodness. I mean, if you do a little research, you're going to see that, Solomon had all the Moloch worshippers. And, that ain't no different than Jezebel. At least she was loyal to Ahab. I mean, you had a real relationship there. What has Solomon and his 1,000 wives got? That's nothing. He probably, before he knew it, didn't even know their names. Just another Moloch worshiper he folded into the flock that Israelites have to feed. It's just sad. It's absolutely sad, and we're going to have to come up with better solutions than this. There's going to have to be people that care about the law and what we can do to salvage it, because the law has been shattered. And I can get into that in a whole nother series, but I truly believe God did. He did have the law. It's there, but you have to pursue the law. By the pursuit of the law, a man will live, and that's just so true. It's going to be harder than we think because there's lies in the law, and there's things that you're just going to have to wonder which is the right way, and his people will pick the right way. That's what will happen. I'm not want to judge and make a judgment call for God or nothing like that. But these guys here, it's just a calamity of things that it's just so sad. You know what I mean? Again, what the poor girls go through. We're going to have to rethink everything. That's what we're going to have to do as men and women. We're going to have to rethink everything. And one of the biggest problems is that the men are basically turning into cucks. Now, I say that respectfully, but this is what's happening basically everywhere. You've got a man, he has a daughter, she does what she wants. She ends up supplanting in the household. Most of his money's flying out to his daughters, going to her boyfriends, or potential husbands, maybe, perhaps, one day. And meanwhile, he's looking for reasons to disinherit his sons. And that right there is an obvious sign that the man, he's basically headed towards homosexuality. When you're disinheriting your sons for your daughter's boyfriends, there's something wrong with you. There's something deep, dark wrong with you. And because you should be absolutely jealous of these boys. They're taking out your daughter and doing what they want. You feed them, they'll F them. I mean, and for those that don't know, in the laws of Moses, it's completely fine to marry your own daughter and make her your woman, all that. So what you had was basically 8 female relatives, besides your stepdaughters and your step relationships. Stepsisters were illegal. Stepdaughter was illegal. But what you had was, you had your grandmother, you had your daughter, you had your nieces, and you had your cousins. All of those girls were lawful to be engaged in sexual activity with. Now, your sister or your mother or your aunt or your granddaughter, that other half, those were off limits, completely off limits. And so when a guy is letting his daughter date, and she's just being taken for a spin, maybe I'll keep her, maybe, if you're lucky, I'll, you know what I mean? I'll keep her. How does that sound? Don't make me mad, or else I won't. And there ain't nothing you can do about it, Daddy. And that is what's ruining this country. That's what's ruining the world. Now, in the laws of Moses, a girl that's still living with her daddy, again, because the law is shattered, Deuteronomy's full of lies and contradicts the rest of the law in some places. One of them happens to be where the girl, if you seduce a virgin, you had to pay a certain amount of shekels to the father in silver. Now, if he refused to give her to you, well, you still owe the money. Now, in Deuteronomy, if she sleeps around and she still lives with her daddy, and then someone marries her and finds out, well, then she had to be stoned. That's why it's saying in the Gospels, Joseph tried to put Mary away because she was found to be pregnant. And he was thinking, oh boy, we were engaged, and that completely fits the law of we got to kill her if we're going to live as Jews. And because nobody knows what the law says anymore, that's because of Israel's disobedience in the time of Moses, trying to make peace with them Canaanites, even before Moses died. Well, what you have is a bad conflict, but the key takeaway from both of those laws is that the daddy decided if he was going to give the girl away. You don't just, because see, guys, okay, now, and this is a notorious saying with black guys, they're supplanters a lot of time. They just want to come, dump a load, get the girl pregnant, and he's gone. He supplanted your nation. Black guys are very notorious for this. Then you got a boy that he don't have a daddy, got a white mama. The dude's off, supplanting somebody else's household, supplanting your whole nation. If foreigners can come in and just get all your girls pregnant, guess what just happened? They just canceled you. If they decided, well, I don't want none of my daddy's relatives, I just want, Mexicans or blacks or whatever, you're canceled. Now you can say, well, John, well, what are you supposed to do? I mean, the women, you just now said, give the poor girls a break, and I'm trying to. But when there's when there's a malicious we're gonna err to the whole situation. We have to stop and decide, okay, are we going to adhere to more traditional values since we're all going conservative these days? We're all just big into conservatism. I'll tell you, my great granddad, now my granddaddy was born in 1906. So between my grandpa and me, there's only one person, that's my daddy. So I could have been born in the 40s. But here I am. I'm only 45. But my great granddaddy, now he married his woman. She was only 12 years old. He was 26. She was 12. He was just a simple guy out in Arkansas, and my great grandmother, her parents were German immigrants, and she was born in the United States, but she spoke German. And he was actually supposed to go down the road and see someone else. Grandpa told him he wanted him to meet this girl, sent him down the road. He was going to try to hook him up and get him married off and stuff with the one that he wanted, but he ended up at the wrong house. And the rest was history. But what we're finding, a bit of halfway in transit, guys. Bear with me. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get back to my Grandpa Samuel's day, my great granddad. We're going to have to do that, or else. Now, everybody that's conservative are trying to get on that bandwagon. They're all thinking, well, John, that was then. That was the freaking 1800s. But now this is 2000 and something. One second. This is 2000 and something. You know what I mean? We don't do that no more. That's Epstein stuff. Whatever it is, the stuff that they're espousing, where everybody, little girls float around like butterflies, and you got teenage boys that do whatever they want, and you just kind of step back and hope that, she doesn't get too abused. And, one of these GMS characters, clowns, come along and make her feel like trash. That right there, that leads straight to Sodom. That leads to sodomite women. And the next thing you know, they'll all have a gay friend before you know it. I mean, you think that's silly, you let your daughters date, next thing you know, they all got gay friends. That's right. All these things add up. It's a spiritual sickness because the father is being supplanted in his own household. I mean, he becomes a slave of whoever's boy down the street, decides he wants his son. And just like coming in, worse than coming in and getting in your refrigerator, or even worse than getting into your gun case. I mean, you got to give them all a key and just hope they don't steal something or, whatever. It's going to come down to us having to, let these girls know that we're sorry. We're the sorry dog, but work with us. You know what I mean? Work with us. This goes for GMS too, guys. I mean, this is, I'm not your complete total enemy here. Trying to be someone that sees the whole situation for what it is. Damn near hopeless. But it could be better. Sounds crazy, but not. Wait a second. How's that conservative? It is if there's a family unit, an actual family unit. So, I mean, look at Israel. He was basically a slave. He just worked for the girls. He would do anything to manage to get his hands on the girls, and then he was going to try to, start his life then. But what Israel didn't do, just didn't decide that Laban's girls were his. That's not what Israel did. Maybe, Esau did something like that until he got Ishmael's daughter. Maybe that's what he was doing. He was just creeping around, sneaking to Canaanite tents, banging the little Canaanite booties, and he's got two of them pregnant. That's what Esau was doing. I don't know. What we do know is basically Judah and Esau were just alike. I mean, that's those two. I mean, Judah was just like his uncle Esau. That's what we do know. If any of Israel's sons was like Esau, that was Judah. But Israel was a little bit different of a character because he didn't want to be a thief. He didn't want to be a supplanter. That's not what he was trying to do. Instead, he just decided, Laban was willing to, talk his girls into going with this guy, and he decided he would be a slave for that. That's a real man. That's what you have to do. And boys in their 20s, just forget that. You know what I mean? They don't. You're going to make them sob. They'll cry into their pillow, thinking, well, you got him. He ain't no good. You know what I mean? He should be messing around and taking care of his grandma. By then, he's going ahead and divorce his grandma, and he should be keeping her happy. That's who he's a slave for. Until, it's time. And he's basically damn near 40-something. And we need to be empowering women, actually. As the more, as time goes on, I mean, we're living in a world where women can do our jobs. Yeah, we've got it to a point where, yeah, the machinery helps a lot that she can use and stuff. But we're at a place now where she can do a lot of these things, especially the office jobs. You know what I mean? And we should be in kind of like the construction and that blue collar stuff still. But as far as all these guys going to college and living all this college life and in their 20s and something like that, and they've done messed around. You know what I mean? If the girls think that they're, special and really pretty, he's probably done messed around with, all kind of girls that he didn't marry that he should have. And that's because, his little dream, his little endless summer ain't over with. But you see how this guy from GMS is talking. That is exactly what is in even the boys that are sitting there supplanting. They're not saying it. They say it after they're done with them. Then next thing you know, they don't want nothing to do with you. They got a million reasons why you ain't no good. We need the poor girls to recognize the difference between the real men, you know what I mean, the Grandpa Samuels of this world, and just a GMS supplanter type. That's so important. So if you're out there and you're listening to GMS, you know what I mean, ruin, salt the fields for you. I mean, just completely salt the fields. The thing to do now, here's the thing to do. Let John Thomas tell you the thing to do. I don't want to be arrogant, and I don't want to, not uphold the sanctity. But here's what we need to be doing, including this guy from GMS. We need to be down at those colleges. And any girl getting her college degree, we got to pledge to be her slave. That's what we need to be doing. If she'll have us, no matter what her figure's like, none of that. And then it's all about how can we make her rich. You know what I mean? The boys will serve mama, and the girls will serve daddy. Back at the farm, back at the land. You know what I mean? That's what we need to be doing. Now, you might think, well, John, I think you're trolling, gaslighting. I'm telling you what I'm telling you is what I feel is the way. And I've said this for years. When I told you about Isaiah 4 verse 1 changing in Jerusalem, 2014, October, in the new Swedish hostel, they're on David Street. They're in the Feast of Tabernacles. That thing used to say 6 women, and I was saying this stuff back then. People that know me have already might run into it, just don't even know what to say, shake their head. I don't care. You know what I mean? They want to say something bad about Grandpa Samuel. He should have been locked up. He should have been on the Epstein list. There was nothing he could do. You know what I mean? And she knew what she wanted. He came to the door, and Grandpa Samuel, he was kind of dark. His mother was a full-blooded Cherokee woman. So he kind of didn't look exactly like us, but, and maybe that was her being a little bit of a supplanter. I mean, but I don't know. She seen a dark guy that she liked at the door, and that was it. I mean, she was a grown-up. Already a grown-up. And They're out there. But what we've got is arrested development. You see, so many men's daughters, they're raised wrong, conceived wrong. So they're not going to have that in the mindset. They're going to think, oh, you abused me. You abused me till I'm 21, unless you're a boy, and then everything's cool. And so what it's really going to take is we're going to have to breed. We're going to have to breed the daughters that we need, and sometimes for ourselves even. Because if we can get away from basically the effeminism, see, he thinks that this fellow from GMS and others, they do this thinking like, hey, I'm standing up for myself. I'm not getting punked out. What it ends up being is effeminate. That's what it ends up being, an effeminate act that you done. Now, what we need to tell the college girls is that our daughter's sons that we'll give to her, they're going to serve our wife's sons. Yes, you heard it right here. Okay. Our sons need slaves. They need guys that can work in their businesses, that they can count on. But you can't just get that anywhere. They're going to have to be family. And they have to be, told this is your deal. You know what I mean? You might just stand around the house or whatever, but in times to come, and you don't never got to give up the marijuana or the booze or whatever it is, because you're just a slave. Get caught, on the job drunk or whatever. That's that. I mean, you got job security, but we need to have sons and daughters with a good little college girl, an independent woman. Don't worry about her body count, none of that. If she agrees, okay, that's good. Your sons that you have with her daughters, they're going to be her sons' slaves that you gave to her. You see, this is the way to go, guys. And you can say, John, this stuff's illegal you're talking about. We have to change things. We have to change things. Just like any anthropologist that comes and starts sifting through the rubble of the ruins of a nation, they go to piecing together what caused it. You know what I mean? What led to this downfall? If we don't change it, that's all there will be. Now, I know GMS wants the nukes to fly, and they'll be in the spacecraft and all that. That's not the thing to do. It's not what Abraham did. If there's a chance that you can fix it, save it, you do everything you can. That's what you do. Because you don't want to be the guy that threw in the towel first. You want to be the guy that's out there still slugging, trying to make it happen. So by the time now, okay, here's the order of things. You get you a college girl. This girl right here, she could be a real good girl if we, you know what I mean. If we could just trust them not to, go basically turn into Jakes, because God only knows. We don't need that, because that leads us straight back into Sodom and Canaanism. But if we could get girls like that, even, you know what I mean, that nobody wants, people think they're dingy, whatever. But we give her children, and then we make sure our daughters are loved. Our little girls are taken care of, not taken advantage of. You know what I mean? And we're going to have to fight like this. Like, well, John, What are we talking about? It's going to have to just be like a grassroots thing where we demand it, to where we don't throw people in jail, even if they throw us on trial. You can't get a jury to convict. That's what we're going to have to do until they say, wait a second, we thought we bred these little effeminate queers and all this stuff. We did. We brought out the real men, and we're going to have to buck up, and we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to apologize to these girls, and we're going to have to let them know it's been us. It's been us and our daddy. And if she feels like blaming her daddy anytime she wants to, go right ahead, because it's their fault. And see, now, your daughter's sons, those would technically be her grandsons. And they could even marry their uncle if they wanted to, which would be her sons, your wife's sons, because they would be her two things removed. She would also be your granddaughter, your son's daughters, so they would be off limits for you. But this is the way it needs to be. You back on the farm, grow in the garden with the girls. All the money goes to mama. She's got her boys. You know what I mean? She puts them to work however she sees fit. Now, what are they doing in the meantime? You're thinking, well, John, what are they going to do? They ain't got no girlfriends? No. They're going to have to get down with grandma and in the laws of Moses, uncovering a woman's nakedness, that was vaginal sex. So that wasn't, and that's proven in Deuteronomy, because one of the things the father would do if the man accused the girl of not being a virgin, well, he would present a cloth. Now, this cloth could only be one thing. That's a cloth saying that he ruptured his daughter's hymen. So if the daddy has a cloth saying, no, oh, wait a second. No, I did that. Because in some cases, you're going to have an imperforate hymen on the girls. So she has to have that thing busted open before her first period. Or, it would be unlawful to do so. So what are you saying, John? Are you saying that the laws of Moses, that God is saying that a man could not deflower his own daughter? That's correct. If she's your daughter, she's a perpetual virgin, even if you get her pregnant, because there hadn't been no other man there, and her daddy doesn't count. So, and these were even prepubescent girls, and when you think about it, because again, some of them would have had imperforate hymens. So it needs to be all about what mama says. When she says the girl can do things, she can do things. You know what I mean? And we're kind of a slave in the household too. But if we do that, and we kind of atone for what we've done, because we're the ones that need to atone. We're thinking, oh, the girls there, man, they were mean and ugly. And they were bad. And oh boy, that old body count. It was us. How many of these guys that are talking about these females, if they have a son, they're going to let him date somebody's daughter? You're the problem. You're the supplanter. You're teaching your son to supplant another man's household. May as well be teaching him to sleep with his wife. Because, I mean, some angles of the law say it's exactly that, you know. So this is my little. I'm going to get deeper into this, but I just wanted to get this out of there. This is the way back. Now, am I saying there ain't nothing to those Epstein files? I don't know what those Epstein files are. Could just be a bunch of lies to make you look like, hey, you jump on any bandwagon without proof. What does the law tell you? Confirm every matter with witnesses. I can't confirm anything that's in the Jeffrey Epstein files. Now, my question is, where are the boys? Have you heard anything about boys being sexually molested? They're all too happy to talk about all the girls. Because my thing is, when you got a Canaanite society, in love with David the way it is, they're going to be after the boys, guys. For every girl, there's probably 20 boys. You need to get real when you got Canaanite lovers. So, if they did, if they did terrible things, they killed these girls and all that. Yeah, they got to die. If they abducted girls, they need to be killed. That's kidnapping. Yeah, they should die for that. Think about how scary that is for a girl to be abducted. You don't know what this crazy loon is. You can't even fight back. Should be killed just for that. Scared her to death like that. So, but as far as, oh my goodness, he got into that young girl. That ain't the problem. That he, these old guys were getting up in these young girls. That's not the problem. Problem is, how did they get a hold of them? If what they say is true, none of those fathers were. None of them were. It's just, and then, of course, the poor girls. They're used up, thrown away. Just like trash or whatever. I don't know what all went down there. But I do know what they've done is lock you in. They've locked you into sort of like a knee-jerk reaction where, oh my goodness, Epstein. Can anybody say Epstein? PDF file. Can anybody say PDF file? You wouldn't say that to Israel or any of these guys because you don't know that how little Rachel was when Israel kissed her for the first time. Hell, she could have been 8, 9 years old. Let's get real. Are you going to say that to them? Are you going to come up to them and say, hey, PDF file? Are you going to say it to David? Because David was one of them. Put him in the bed at, 70 years old. He could barely even keep warm. They put a young girl in there. You think she was 20s? That girl was probably 11, 12 years old. They put in the bed with David to see if he can still get it up. Let's get real. And if you're going to say, well, John, I'm not David, you're not David. The only thing I know to say to you is take a hike, dude. Don't come at me with it's not wrong for them, but, I'm going to come down on you. I'm going to gatekeep for you. You can just jump off, whatever, as far as I'm concerned, and that don't. I only hard to cry for you. But this is what we got to do. And I'm telling GMS right now the secret. Okay? You don't have to acknowledge John Thomas over here at Mandela Effect Operation Outreach. Just a crazy guy talking about he's seen the changes. Sees more changes than anybody else probably that I've met. I know that. And I'm just some guy telling you what I've seen. And what I've seen is this is getting worse and worse. And what it's causing our girls to be more manly and the guys to be more effeminate. And then to break out of it, you're going to have to get over that hurdle of that old Epstein shit. You're going to have to bust over that hurdle. Maybe it's too hard for you to get all the way over, just bust through it. You know what I mean? That's what you're going to have to do. You're getting caught up in news stories you cannot verify. I hear people talking about nuclear radiation. And, I mean, it's you don't know none of it. You know what they've told you, that nuclear power's so dangerous. The EPA regulated nuclear power into oblivion in the 80s. Galen Winsor taught us that. He used to eat uranium oxide, drink the coolant water, swim in the coolant water. He designed our power plants. There was nothing wrong with them. If it's too hot that it burns you, you've been burned. That's how you know that you got too much radiation. You don't have a burn on you, you're fine. But the EPA knew that this is so much free energy for everybody. Everybody in America was about to be a millionaire because of nuclear energy. By the 90s, probably half our population would have been millionaires. And they knew that. So they shut it down. But what do you hear? Everybody's talking about nuclear this, nuclear that, radiation this. Yeah, I'm sure they've got ways, energy weapons, to make it look like, wow, did you get too much radiation? They hit you with the microwave wave. Oh, look, you were too close to the power plant, wasn't you? Got to make it look real here and there. But for you to get out of the impoverishment, get out of the arrested development, we're going to have to bust through these hurdles. And we're going to have to take their little news stories, tell them they can shove them where. We've got our news society that you're just going to have to kill us now, because soon they'll be gone. And there won't be nobody but, I guess, scabs to enforce it. Scabs is what they'll be. And you can be sure that's one of the reasons they're moving like they are. They don't trust Gen X or the millennials to cross the baton, finish line with the baton. They got their oldest, a Gen X, and that's who they're handing this baton to. And then they're going to get them through the finish line. And then they'll take their Zoomer Timothys that, just latched on like a pit bull to every little thing that they said, like it was the most wise man of the mountain that they ever heard. All their little ass kissers. And they're going to try to skip everybody else. But you're already seeing. It doesn't matter what they do. The spirit, all of it's controlled from the source that it came from. So even their sellouts and their go-to boys, their bottom, their heart can just sink like a rock one day. They don't know why they can't get right, why they can't be happy. Don't know the remedy. The remedy is us being good to our girls, guys. That's going to be the remedy. We've got to do better. And we should want to see her decked out and in nice things and while we're living back at the farm, in a shack basically. You know what I mean? As long as people ain't out taking advantage of our daughters and doing us like they used to. That's the way it needs to be. That's just a little what's it called? Just a little brief preview of where I'm going to try to take this topic again real soon, because I want to go even deeper and some protocols. Feel free to jump on this, whatever you want to do. Let freedom ring. This ain't the first time I've said things like this. Draw as much attention to it as you want, or let it stay buried. Whatever. My conscience is clear. My conscience is clear on the issue. I don't want to be a part of the problem any longer. And so I'm just going to say it like it is. What the hell with who doesn't like it. But now, if we come out, our generation, and even the younger ones, and we show them what we're made of, I don't know what could happen, because God is, and He's in the grove right now. You know what I mean? We've seen it with these changes. That's what that means. He's ready to do something, and they're just not taking it seriously. His warning signs are everywhere, and they're going to see that it's going to be futile. And if they try to shut us down, if we was to jump on the bandwagon of right living, they try to shut us down, it'll be that much worse. So everybody, y'all have a good afternoon. I'm going to get deeper into this topic. And let's just take it day by day. Y'all have a good one.